everyone. My name is Harrison Price. I am a graduate student at the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. I'm currently student teaching up in the Chicago Public Schools district because I am a school librarian in training. And today I would love to show you all a digital citizenship activity that I made for one of my classes on media and digital literacy. And there it is. Let's go ahead and get started. Our topic that I would love to share with you all today is my resource called Choose Your Own Digital Citizenship Adventure. So it is an interactive PowerPoint activity, very similar to if you're familiar with Bitmoji libraries. Those have become pretty popular. So I've heard since the COVID-19 pandemic, when we were unable to be in the classroom, I've seen a lot of examples of teachers and librarians having those digital libraries for students to access and then being built on Google PowerPoint. This is very, very similar. It functions in the same way. It's like a point and click adventure or a flash game as well, if you remember those. So for this, I will go ahead and click in. As I am showing you here, it is an interactive learning challenge. So students are prompted to choose between four different digital citizenship standard areas. Traditionally, I would say those are social responsibility, digital safety, media and information literacy, and digital well-being. Of course, if you think that for your school or for the people who are receiving your resources and you're building resources for, if there are other areas you would like to cover in this, absolutely fine. These were just the four that were most important to me in my class. But of course, this can be totally adaptable to anything you would like to make it for. So let's go ahead and get started, and I'll show you a little bit about what happens in these different games. So right off the bat, students are allowed to choose these different themes. So I'll click first into social responsibility. In all of these activities, they are all hypothetical situations. The text can be edited if you would like to make a copy. I tried to make mine as generic and basic as possible because I wanted to be widely applicable to any student who used it, right? So I just had the very generic names or places listed. You can make it more specific to your school district or to your classroom if you'd like, of course. But here we see one of these hypothetical situations being set up. I also have a note for teachers. So for teachers, you can feel free to delete this slide. This just gives you an idea of what I was imagining this would look like. And in a lot of these cases, for these different games, they involve some sort of external activity, right? Happening on computers or iPads or devices. Of course, if your school does not issue every student a device, or you're working somewhere where people may or may not be bringing their own devices, that's totally okay. It could be projected on the board by itself, or you could incorporate print materials into the lesson as well. So I tried to make these activities as flexible as possible. These are the ways I recommend teaching it. However, whatever works for your classroom, of course, please do that. So let's go ahead and start. So right here, we're being prompted with an activity. Students should make a note of this, see what they need to do, accept it, and here's where they will do their search. They will use the parameters that are provided to find a search and see what they come up with. And of course, after you're done, you may share. These go on for a few days. And at the end of each section, I talk a little bit about, for this project, ideally what I would do as future steps, and which is where I was thinking about going with this project. So one of these days, I would love to teach a lesson about the limitations of social media, right? And I think that would be a great resource to apply to 6th to 12th grade. However, for younger grades, if you're doing some sort of research assignment, right, or you're practicing research with 5th grade and under, it might help to just talk about the basics, especially if they don't have a lot of digital citizenship or computer literacy education early on in their schooling. After you finish each section, there will be a little box up here at the top. You go ahead and click that, and it takes you back to your home screen with all the themes. And you have three more options here: digital safety, media and information literacy, and digital well-being. So let's click into digital safety. Of course, we have another hypothetical situation here. We'll go ahead and start. And in this one acts as a role play assignment. So this one could definitely be taken into the classroom as an interactive role-playing activity verbally, right? So we have one person being the student talking to the librarian saying, oh, I'm getting emails from this teacher and it's looking a little suspicious though. I don't know if it's really him. Can you help me find out if it's real, right? You could say it's probably fine if you think or your students think that it's okay. But if you go there, it will send you to a screen that talks about or at least hints at why saying it's probably fine is not the best choice to make when we're talking about digital safety. And then it offers you the opportunity to review the email and find the red flags, right? But if we go back to the to the original text, you can say, let me take a look at that email. And it brings you to a blank example of the email, right? And so here I would recommend you have students go through what you see on the screen and try to identify what they think looks suspicious about this, right? And after you do that, they can decide it's probably fine, which of course takes us again back to the screen we just saw, where it hints at perhaps this is not exactly who we think it is from. Or they can say it's a phishing attempt. And then the students are given the answers, right? All of the different aspects of phishing, or at least ones that are most relevant to emails that young people might receive, and how to spot them and how to fact check them, right? And just information about how people try to phish you. This I feel is a really great, digital safety is a really great activity to do with students if you work in a one-to-one school and the students are allowed to take their devices home. Amazing. And then our last 2 points are media and information literacy. I would say that what I have built for media and information literacy is most relevant to high school because it is focused on writing a research paper. This would be a really excellent resource, I think, to pair with an English class who's doing a research project and just have a fun way to teach how to use different reference sources for academic papers. Because I remember being in school and thinking that lesson was a little dry. And I've heard a lot of feedback from students that it's also a little dry, and they just want to have an easier, more interactive way to learn how to do good research. So I think having a activity to pair along with it and to learn about the different aspects of research and how to use the library as a research tool could be a really engaging way for students who are both eager to learn and maybe a bit more reluctant in their learning. So can go ahead and get started. We have our parameters here. Mine is built out of all of the information from U of I, since that was the institution I was attending at the time of making this, right? You can, of course, apply this to whatever your system is. Or if you're working outside of a school library, you could apply it to your public library as well. I think that would be a really great way to connect your local resources into the education you're providing. So, for example, if I clicked into WorldCat, it just describes a little bit about WorldCat is, right? And so they can go through, take a look, see what all these are, and then try out the filters and limiters. So this is definitely why I say it's probably more relevant to high school. Um, I think looking for peer-reviewed texts and then having specific dates or these very technical aspects of writing is something you will see more in the 9th to 12th grade. However, these skills can be built earlier, so feel free to incorporate them in any ways you feel fit or you feel works best for your classroom before then. So finished exploring, choose a different theme, digital well-being. This is another role play type activity where students are pretending to apply to college. So they just have to make digital decisions about what works and what doesn't. This one feels a bit more intuitive out of all the activities. So I will say we can read the prompt and then students must respond what they pick, one or two. So one, obviously, it talks about maybe reasons why that might be a not so great choice and the reasoning behind why it might not be such a great choice and the repercussions you might face for posting things that are deemed inappropriate online. So when you do click a decision that is considered more appropriate, it also gives you this in-depth explanation. And of course, that is it. So let me stop my share and I will turn my camera back on. My focus is for youth. So when I consider these activities, I really want to find a way to encourage play in what I do because I think that is very valuable to students' educational pursuits. And I think encourages them to think about important topics in different ways and stretch their minds in ways that they may not be afforded in terms of traditional academic activities or assignments. I think for elementary and middle school, it'd be really interesting to do these activities together. You project them on the board, have them work through it as a class or in small groups, and you take them step by step through these. For high school, I have a dream of doing this with high school and having them build their own digital PowerPoints and build their own digital literacy pardon me, their own digital literacy, choose your own adventures. And I think that choice allows them to put skills that they may have learned previously to the test and find ways to make them relevant to their own lives. And I think for educators, that just makes us a little bit more aware of the challenges that teens face online and helps us build our own curriculums better. So again, thank you so much. Please feel free to email me if you have any questions or just want to chat or you have any feedback. I love feedback, but have a great media literacy week and hopefully we'll talk soon. Bye.